Good morning, everyone, and how are we doing at the end of yet another week? Um, lots taking place at this time of the year. We had Thanksgiving in Canada just a few days ago, and we are just on the brink of the Advent season, and yet another Christmas. In fact, I would like to do a series of talks leading up to Christmas, a sort of Advent retreat for you. This weekend, our reading is focused on persistence in prayer. I heard someone once say that they only found Jesus when they left the Catholic Church, that they sat through several masses over the years and it had not given them an encounter with the Lord. And it was not until they joined an evangelical church and listened to God's word that they eventually found the Lord. Well, I don't know about that. I know that in all churches, whether Catholic or evangelical, there are people sitting there who, whether they listen to Mass or a service, whether they go to communion or listen to the preaching, don't really know the Lord. They have no real knowledge of God. And it happens on both sides. It's not just a Catholic thing. The reading this weekend, as I said, is about persistence in prayer, which practically amounts to persistence in faith. It's the same thing. Both inform each other. Prayer comes from a deep faith, and faith is informed and nourished by prayer. The reading talks about a woman who goes before a judge over and over to get justice, even though the judge is not inclined to grant her her wish. We are told that he is a man who does not fear God and who does not care about people's opinion. In the end, she practically wears him out by her persistence, and he grants her her request, more to get rid of her and her irritating demands. So faith, we are told, requires persistence. It is a continual thing, a lifelong struggle. It's a marathon, not a sprint. So often we feel like giving up the struggle. For Catholics, this can take several forms. But I notice it usually happens this way, and I've repeated this mantra over and over. Catholics tend to leave the church this way. First of all, they start questioning the Eucharist. They look at the white wafer and they question, is this really God? Can this do anything for me? And so they simply stop going for communion. Then they stop going to Mass. You hear them say things like, I can stay home and pray. I don't need to go to church. Then they stop praying. Step number 3. They notice that John next door is doing really well. He doesn't go to church. He doesn't pray. And he seems to be quite well off and very happy. And finally, they stop thinking about God altogether. And when you stop thinking about God, you tend to replace God with yourself. There's no external reference anymore. So those are the 4 steps. They question the Eucharist, they stop going to Mass, they stop praying, and then they stop thinking about God altogether. And that's it. Prayer is gone, faith is gone, and we have joined the masses. The reading today speaks about a different life, a life of faith nourished by prayer. As members of God's family, we have the privilege and the responsibility to pray often. It is as though you were given the cell number of an important person. Everyone else has to call the office to get through to the boss, but you have a direct line by virtue of your baptism, which makes you a member of God's family. So I'm asking us to use that number and call often. Pray when you want to pray, and pray when you don't want to pray. Let prayer become so regular that you are not even aware of it. It is like the breath you take. Pray before you make important decisions. Pray when problems are lurking. Pray for your children before they go off to school. Pray for people who are far away from you. Pray for the sick and the dying, for people in jail, for your country and your government. Instead of complaining, pray. Bring people and situations before God over and over, and I can guarantee you your breakthrough is just around the corner. Have a great weekend, everyone. God bless.